sometimes people
welcome everybody and hello. Good to see you all.
Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes.
Everybody else thinks
us think you are.
I apologize, guys. Okay, so I posted briefly in the Skype chat today a little bit. What I'd like you guys to do is kind of pick one theme every day this week. Hopefully you're putting out content, you're doing things, but for yourself, use a word like hope, joy, gratitude, success, something along those lines. Think about something in each and every day, kind of reflect on that multiple times throughout the day. I wanted to talk a little bit about hope. I heard about something I thought was incredibly interesting. So a couple of key points I want to share a story with you. First off, you guys have heard the story of, or heard oftentimes, people ask, like, can you die of a broken heart? And, absolutely, a lot of doctors will tell you it's true. There's this psychology behind how we live our life plays a much larger role than you think. Now, I want to share an example about hope and how important hope is, and think about how hope plays into your business. Yes, there are strategies. There are things that you have to do. There's a day-by-day list. There are tasks that have to be completed, but there is inevitably throughout our day and throughout our year and throughout our businesses, there are moments that are great and there are moments when we struggle. And it is in those moments where hope will play a factor. And sometimes people will come back and they say, well, that's just not the case. And I would refute that. There was a study done back in the 50s. And this is, it was performed with rats. And so I'm not saying we're all rats, but it shows how brains work oftentimes. Okay. So study done back in the 50s, and I don't have the doctor's name right in front of me. I was reading up about it over the weekend, so I forgot, but you can look this up and just look. I'll tell you kind of how to look it up in a minute and you can see. Remember, this is the 50s. So this is 70 plus years ago. It's absolutely cruel and traumatic to rats. So we're not going to, nobody's going to go out and redo this nowadays, but he went through with it. We can look at data. Okay. So, this is a doctor that, graduated from Harvard, was studying at was a doctor at Johns Hopkins University. And what he did is he initially took about 12 rats. And these were domesticated rats, and he put them into buckets of water. And he wanted to see how long they would last. And what happened was the first few kind of swam around at the top and then kind of dove down to the bottom and looked around and saw there wasn't really any kind of escape. And they ended up swimming for a little bit. They drowned, though, about 15 minutes in. They didn't last real long. The other 10 or so rats in this initial experiment kind of saw that and swam around and did everything they could to last as long as possible. And they lasted hours and hours and hours. And so he kind of hypothesized, he said, well, the first ones, maybe what they did is they went and they couldn't find any hope of escape. They figured nothing was going to happen. And so they just let themselves go. They just drowned. And so he decided to recreate the experiment, and he went out and he got 34 wild feral rats. These are ferocious street rats. They're rats that are always, they are known to be great swimmers. They are survivalists. He figured surely these feral rats will do everything they can to survive as long as possible. And he put them in. And many of them died within minutes, drowned within a matter of minutes. None of them really lasted longer than just a couple of hours. And he's trying to think why. And then he kind of thought, and his hypothesis was the domesticated rats, the ones that lasted, had a history of being cared for. Someone would come along and help them when they needed it. And these ones that were feral rats had never had anything like that, knew that no help was ever going to come their way. And so eventually they gave up. And so he recreated it one more time. And what he did is he took the rats and he would put them into the bucket of water and he let them swim. But he paid attention to that moment, typically about 15 to 20 minutes in, he paid attention to the moment where they started to give up, where they thought there just isn't enough reason to keep going. I'm not getting out of here. And he saved them. He pulled them out of the water. He dried them off. He gave them some food. He let them rest and relax for a while. And then he put them back in. Cruel, unusual. I'm not trying to point at that. Does anyone want to guess how long those rats that were initially saved, dried off, cared for momentarily, and then put back in? Anyone want to venture a guess? And if you already know the answer, don't guess. But does anyone want to venture a guess how long those second rats lasted?
I would say a while.
How long, Nancy?
A while.
A while, definitely. Catalina's right on. On average, they lasted about 60 hours. 2.5 days. From 15 minutes to 2.5 days. Now, what changed? Someone had helped them. There was hope. They figured, hey, if I just keep going, something's going to come along. Something's going to work out. Right? I'll be able to make it. I can see my way through. And they went way beyond what anyone thought was possible. I mean, for the most part, people thought it was just going to be an extra few hours, just a few extra hours, because they had a little bit of hope. 60 hours, ladies and gentlemen, from 15 minutes to 60 hours. The initial ones who swam around didn't last more than just a few minutes. These ones were saved as they began to give up, and they lasted for 2.5 days. Now, what's going on in your life? I've worked with many people, dealing with things myself, with family members and others. And you have people that just live life without much hope. They start with a little, hey, I'm going to find a way. I'll figure it out. They swim down, they look around. Oh, there's nothing here. Guess it's just not going to work out for me. And they give up. Now, we're not rats in this scenario. We're not swimming around in buckets. But we have, each of us, something that we need to do. Don't give up so easily on yourselves. Understand that help is there. Understand that things are possible. Understand that you can get out of the proverbial bucket, that you can get yourself going, that you can live an amazing life, however you want to define that. But keep swimming, for crying out loud. That's one of the biggest things. Have hope and keep swimming. Okay. So easy to look up this experiment. It was super fascinating to me. I was reading a fiction book this weekend, and a character was talking about hope and brought up this little experiment. I went, no way. 15 minutes, 60 hours. Like, they had to just been using literary license to write in their story to make this nice. Turns out it's true. Doctor in the 50s. Just go look up rat drowning experiments. Awful name for it, but that's what pops up with Google search. There's all sorts of different articles. Read the whole thing so you see all of it. But guys, the point is there's so many amazing things that are possible if you just have hope, if you just believe a little bit, if you have some kind of vision. I've done the training before. Go back and look, and almost every single one of you should have seen the training I did about SMART goals and dumb goals. SMART goals are essential and you need them, but damn it, you've got to have a dream that is big and hairy and audacious and fantastic, right? That is simply dumb. So I've got it written up here on my wall in my own handwriting, so you wouldn't be able to see it, but it's dream driven, something that's way outside the box, something that's uplifting and not deficit driven. So not just simply getting out of debt kind of thing or losing weight. Method friendly, and then behavior oriented. Find a way to reward that positive behavior. So Jess is saying, similar study with dogs and wolves. The dogs will always look to their masters to help them when they're trying to problem solve and are ineffective. Wolves will persist and not give up because they have not been conditioned to see humans as partners. But they have found a way. But part of what this is, Jess, is it's similar there. But in this case, it was a little bit different simply because the rats believed that some help was going to go, and so they were going to do everything they can. So it wasn't necessarily problem solving. It was just continuity, right? Endurance, pure endurance. And sometimes as an entrepreneur, that's what you need. So Absolutely. Yeah, love gave them hope. So as Dory says in Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And on that note, guys, just keep swimming. And no matter what is going on around you, no matter how many flames come, no matter how many fires you have to put out, understand that you can always find a way to rise up from the ashes, fly like the phoenixes that you are, and go out and have an amazing day.
Sometimes
So
people
on that note,
have what it
guys,
takes,
love
but they
you.
haven't
I will see you
recognized
tomorrow.
it yet. Just
We're
go
doing
forward.
hot
So what do you need to do? How do you
Make
stand out?
sure if you're
And what you need to do is
hot
be that person that's different and it's bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the
Have an
phoenixes
awesome
that
day.
you are.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.